Long ball is going to go for a touchdown. The game's over. Webster Slaughter.
Metcalf will go for the score. Unbelievable.
45-40. Run, William, run. He's got blockers in front. 5. Touchdown. Joshua Cribbs turns disaster into a score.
Sight wants it all on this one for Logan, and he is there.
Jim Brown to the 30. Jim Brown is going to go in for another touchdown.
The Cleveland Browns select Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
It is Baker Mayfield.
I woke up feeling dangerous.
Hello, Cleveland. Welcome to another episode of the 1085 Gridiron Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Jokey. As always, I'm flanked by my co-host, Jack McCurdy. How you doing today, Jack?
I'm doing well. I've never heard the word flanked, so that's different. So, but
hey, I gotta change it up every now and then. You know, I feel like every time I do an intro, it's the same thing. I was trying to think of a new word to say that you're always by my side. Flanked is what I came up with. So,
it's different. It's good though. But,
yeah, for sure. As always, we're here to talk Browns. We have a lot on this podcast for you. Let's jump right into this. Jamie Gillan, the Browns rookie punter, was named AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. He had 5 of his 6 punts inside the 20-yard line. Austin Seibert connected on 3 of his field goals, or all 3 of his field goals and his 2 extra points. Jack, when you're looking at this team, there were a lot of questions of going into the season with 2 rookie specialists at kicker and at punter. What do you think the early returns have been so far, and do you think that this is something that they can continue to consistently do week in and week out?
I mean, you definitely hope so. Like you said, the early returns have been phenomenal. Gillian is actually leading the NFL in punts inside the 20 already, so very encouraging out of him. And obviously, of course, Austin Seibert has been very good as well outside of the missed extra point against Tennessee. But those guys have been great, and you hope that they can keep it up because their success as the special teams unit as a whole, as long as they keep succeeding, I think it speaks well to how the whole team is succeeding.
Yeah, I think one thing I really noticed with Gillan on Monday night was I believe there's only one of his punts where they actually returned it. Everything was a fair catch or the ball was down. He's able to really get it high up in the air, and that allows the coverage on special teams to get down the field and to have that combination of putting it inside the 20 as well as nothing being returned. That's pretty deadly, and it's awesome to see a guy take the journey that he has and come in here as a rookie and perform really well.
Yeah, definitely. Like one thing, because I remember growing up, they always used to show the hang time, whether it was on Madden or on the actual NFL games, and they don't show that anymore. But he does have some solid hang time for a rookie punter that's practically new to the game still. He's only been in it for a couple of years because, he was a rugby player. But, to see how much he has progressed when a lot of people thought he wasn't even going to make the team, just goes to show his hard work ethic and how solid the special teams coaches, Mike Prefer and his staff, have been as well since they've come to Cleveland.
Yep. Everybody was, and rightfully so, was worried about special teams, but, early returns have been good, and hopefully it's something they can consistently build on throughout the rest of the season. Greedy Williams has played very well over the first 2 games, and he is the top-ranked rookie cornerback in football, according to Pro Football Focus. What has impressed you the most about Greedy Williams through these first 2 games?
The fact that we haven't really even had to talk about him. I think for the most part, we've been more worried about Denzel Ward's play, which just goes to show that Greedy has come in and just done his job. Like, he's been solid, and the knock on him was he can't tackle. And a few times, even though the play was essentially dead, he put some licks on Demaryius Thomas and Jamison Crowder and company Monday night. Greedy has come a long way, and, for him to slide all the way into the second round was such a steal for us, and John Dorsey, even moved up to get him. And, I think we were all a little concerned when he got inserted into the lineup when everybody kind of thought it was going to be Terrence Mitchell, but much like the rookie specialist, Greedy has been solid so far in the first 2 weeks. He's actually the top rated rookie defender according to Pro Football Focus, which speaks volumes because there was a lot of solid defensive players in this draft, and he was the 45th, 46th player taken overall in the draft. So early returns well for Greedy Williams as well.
And it's been very crucial that he has played well because the guy opposite of him, Denzel Ward, their first 2 games, doesn't look like the Denzel Ward last year. Talk about his struggles through these first 2 games, and how much longer do you think those will last?
It's tough to say. I don't know what exactly is going on with Denzel, if they're not using him properly. I do know one thing. He needs to get his tackling down better. I think I was reading he's already missed 5 tackles so far through 2 games this season. We know what kind of guy he is as a cover corner, but, we know his tackling ability, much like Greedy, wasn't that praised. I mean, he's a solid hitter, but he's never been able to tackle properly, whether it was at Ohio State or the first 18 or so games of his career. So you hope that he can improve. I mean, hopefully he gets out of this funk, whatever he's going through, because I think when you have Greedy and Denzel at their best, that is a solid tandem to have in the NFL, especially when you're going up against high-powered offenses, much like the one we're going up against this coming Sunday.
Yeah, they have 3 receivers that can really get after you, and Greedy and Denzel are more than going to have their work cut out for you, and we'll definitely be talking about that a lot more coming up on the podcast. Some injury news. The Browns injury report today was very lengthy, to say the least. Here's the full list of the people that did not practice today. Morgan Burnett, quad. Chris Hubbard, foot. Christian Kirksey, chest. Kendall Lamb, knee. David Njoku, concussion. Larry Ogunjobi, ankle. Demarius Randall, concussion. Chris Smith, non-injury related. I would imagine he is spending time with his family, and that's very much deserved. And Darius Taylor, ankle. All did not practice. But most notably, Chris Hubbard was seen walking around in a walking boot, waiting results from tests. Jack, if he can't go this Sunday against a very talented Rams defensive line, we've seen the struggles that Baker has had with holding onto the ball too quickly or too long, not getting rid of it quickly. That problem could amplify itself on Sunday night if Chris Hubbard is not in there.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie Kitchens on Monday already said, or Tuesday, I'm sorry, that he said that he needs Baker to get the ball out quicker, and that's what he's going to do game plan wise and schematically to make sure that happens. If Hubbard can't go, I mean, you're going to have to implement that right away, because you're going up against a defense that has, and I'm just talking about the defensive front, Dante Fowler, Michael Brockers, and Aaron Donald, the best player in the league. You cannot mess around with a defensive front like that. And I know Justin McCray would probably go as right tackle, and he struggled week 1 against Tennessee, albeit he was thrusted into a situation he probably wasn't prepared for. I would imagine if Hubbard's not practicing, he's getting all the reps at right tackle, and I'm sure Campen and the offensive line staff are going to get McCray ready just in case. But I thought Hubbard has played well, especially as a pass blocker, and he's graded out very well so far. So you have to hope that he'll be ready to go. Obviously, they're waiting on the test results, but if he can't go, you have to hope McCray's ready for this, because Baker cannot afford to hold on to the ball very long against that Rams defensive front.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about this more on our preview show coming up in a couple of days. Is that I think this Sunday would be a really good time to break out the fast tempo offense. I think if you could get Baker into a rhythm early, get him going, getting that ball out quickly, it's going to be a different story on Sunday night. And they really need to do something different in terms of play calling to get everybody involved, to move things along a lot quicker than what they have been. I've noticed these first two games that they're snapping the ball with 3, 2, 1 seconds left on the play clock, and all that allows teams to do is to tee off on you in terms of rushing the quarterback. And I think they need to speed it up. Hopefully, when Freddie talks about getting the ball out quicker, hopefully that involves running plays quicker as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, that's one thing that I noticed that you mentioned. Like, they've been having the play clock's been winding down to the very end, and I just don't know what is going on with Baker. Like, if he's seeing something pre-snap, has to change it, but they got to get that going quicker. And like you said, bring that up-tempo offense that we've seen in the preseason a couple times and, of course, last year, and get the ball out quickly. I seen a stat, when Baker gets it out in 2.5 seconds or less, he's 74% completion percentage, and he hasn't turned the ball over. When he holds on to it longer, I think Baker's mindset is, I got to make a home run play, and that's when he's forcing the ball more downfield, and that leads to more turnovers. So get the ball out quicker, has some quick slants, much like the one Odell took to the house on Monday night. Had those quick plays. We have the athletes at receiver to make the big plays like that, and you don't have to go for a home run all the time.
Or what happens is he breaks out of the pocket, rolls left to right, cuts off half the field, and there's nobody open. He tries to force it, or he throws the ball away. So, getting that ball out quickly is something that they really need to focus on. And obviously, we heard it in Freddie Kitchen's press conference. So hopefully, this Sunday night they'll be able to fix that and change that. We're going to keep rolling with the kind of statistical theme throughout the rest of this episode, and we wanted to do something different and do a Rams by the numbers. So what we're going to do is we've gathered all these different statistics about the LA Rams to kind of start our preview of them, and we'll start with their defense. Through the first 2 weeks, the Rams defense has pressured the quarterback 21 times on 75 pass attempts. Jack, obviously they have Aaron Donald, but the rest of that defensive line is extremely strong. Do you have confidence in the Browns that they'll be able to handle this defensive line and protect Baker Mayfield?
I do, because, I've seen, there's been hiccups, but there's no perfect offensive line out there, obviously. I think they can give Baker the time to throw. In terms of pass blocking, guys have graded high. Even Chris Hubbard and Greg Robinson have posted good scores. Greg Robinson hasn't been that good, but he's had his moments. So obviously, I think this line can protect. It's just this is their biggest test to date. Like I said, they're going up against the front with Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers and Dante Fowler Jr. Then you add Clay Matthews into the picture. He's already got a couple sacks this year. I mean, it's just ridiculous how dominant that front is. So they can protect Baker, but, one little slip up and Baker's, is going to be in the dirt, and that's not good for the Browns offense.
Continuing with the pressures, since or last season, Aaron Donald had 70 of them, and that includes hurries, quarterback hits, and sacks. Obviously, he's the best player in the NFL, and the Browns are going to have a very difficult time keeping him at bay this week. But The interior of the Browns' offensive line, Joe Bitonio, J.C. Treader, and Eric Kush have graded out pretty highly according to Pro Football Focus. They have two of the higher rated guards, and Treader has graded out pretty high as well. This should be a very intriguing matchup, and I think that between those three, they'll be able to, combat him most of the game. But obviously, he's going to have his plays where he completely disrupts things. That's just who he is, and it's going to happen. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, since he came into the league in 2014, Aaron Donald has been nothing short of dominant. 59.5 sacks, 151 QB hits, 98 tackles for a loss. I mean, you don't find many defensive tackles like him. Yeah, I don't know if I can recall any defensive tackle like him since I've watched football. But, I mean, you're going to focus on him, and they might have to double team him, but that's going to open up stuff for Dante Fowler. That's going to open up stuff for Clay Matthews. So, you hope that he's lining up on the left side and Bitonio or the right side essentially, so Bitonio will get him. And then, hopefully Treader can help out a little bit. Or if he goes up against Kush, hopefully Treader can help Kush out. Like you said, they've all graded high. But, not too many guys have been able to stop Aaron Donald. And he's been quiet the first couple weeks of the season. Only 2 tackles and 2 QB hits through 2 games. So, he's lying in the weeds. And, Sunday night might be the moment where he just friggin' breaks out and has a monster performance. So hopefully the Browns will be able to contain him for the most part. I'm sure he'll get back there a couple times and get Baker. But, that is going to be one of the keys, is to stop number 99.
Where you might be able to attack this defensive line is in the running game. They've given up 4.4 rush yards per attempt. That's in the bottom half of the league. I think it was around 17 or 18 ranked in the NFL. So I think to combat the pass rush, I think running the football is going to be, or needs to be, a part of the Browns' focus. I thought they kind of abandoned it a little too early against the Jets, but say what you want about that game, they still won it 23-3. But I think the running game definitely still needs to be a focus come Sunday night.
Yeah, as long as Nick Chubb is on the field, the running game needs to be a focus. And while the sample sizes are small this year, the Rams have given up over 4 yards a carry. They do rank 9th in terms of yardage against the run. So, like I said, the stats are a little misleading. It's still fairly early, but yeah, the Browns need to run the football. I think that's going to help Baker, and that's going to help this offense, definitely. Yeah, the run blocking hasn't been the greatest out of our offensive line so far this year, but when you have Nick Chubb, who legs keep churning despite being, ganged up on by 3 or 4 defenders, if you can get those 4 or 5 yards, that's going to help the offense. That's going to help the rhythm. I think that's the one thing so far early this season, is there hasn't been a sustained rhythm on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that's why a lot of fans, and us included, still feel uneasy about this team 2 games in, despite winning by 20 on Monday night. So if they can get the run game going and keep it sustained through all 4 quarters, I think that will put the Browns in a situation to where the passing game will open up, and then we're going to be able to put some points on the board.
Yeah, with the passing game, the Rams defense as a whole has given up a 67.3 quarterback rating to opposing quarterbacks through the first 2 games. But when targeting corner Aqib Talib, quarterbacks have a rating of 100.3. So they know where to attack this Rams defense going into the game this Sunday. And hopefully Rashard Higgins is back on Sunday night for the game, and they could have that wide receiving core at full strength. If not, guys like Ratley and Taywan Taylor are going to have to step up. But hopefully the Browns are able to attack this Rams defense in the secondary, especially at Aqib Talib, who has not played very well so far.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this defense, obviously everybody's going to pay attention to the front center seven, but the secondary is quite talented. You have Marcus Peters back there. You have Aqib Talib. You have Eric Weddle, who's coming over from Baltimore. You know, Browns fans know how much of a thorn in the side he's been for us over the years. And then Taylor Rapp, who's a young, up-and-coming safety. He's shown some flashes early on, but Talib's at age 33. He's not the player he used to be in Denver. He's struggling a little bit this early on in the season. You definitely might want to have Beckham on him. Try to get Beckham going up against Talib. Obviously, Wade Phillips is going to put probably Peters because he can probably keep up with him in terms of athleticism against Beckham. The one guy that they need to avoid is Corey Littleton, who's already had an interception this year. His QB rating is 70.7 when he's targeted. So, and he's been a promising addition to that Rams defense. While they've added some veterans, having the youth and guys like Littleton and guys like Taylor Rapp, it makes that defense tough on the back end as well as up front.
Yeah, they have a few older players. You mentioned Eric Weddle, Aqib Talib. Clay Matthews is 33, so they have some older players on the defense, but they've been able to infuse some youth into that defense that it has been dominant at times. I think that they could take another level, and when you look at their defensive coordinator and Wade Phillips, since he went to LA in 2017, became the defensive coordinator there, he's allowed 22 points per game. That's 13th in the NFL. So he's been able to have this defense adjust to him very well. I still think that they could take it the next level. We'll see if they can get there. But when you have an explosive offense, and we talked about this with the Browns heading into the season, when you have an explosive offense, your defense doesn't have to be great. They just have to be good. And the Rams have a good defense, not a great defense.
Right. And Wade Phillips, wherever he's been, whether it's Houston, Denver, LA, Dallas, he's been in the league a long time, going back to the 80s. He's had a great defense or a good defense. And like you said, when the Rams have that explosive offense, and they just need a good defense. And that's what Phillips has been able to bring to the table since he's joined McVay out in LA back in 2017. So far this year, their offense has been able to do the work, and the defense has been able to come in and just give them just enough. Week one, they gave up 30 or 27 points to Carolina, but they did just enough to overcome and win that game. And then obviously last week, Drew Brees going out with an injury, and they were able to make Teddy Bridgewater feel uncomfortable. They were able to shut down Kamara and Michael Thomas, and they did just enough to win a game. Obviously, they only gave up 9 points, so that helped as well. So Phillips brings a strong, aggressive defense, and, like we said, he brings just enough despite the talent. There is some holes on that Rams defense for sure, but he brings out the best in everybody and gets them as far as they've gotten so far, and that's, close enough to win the Super Bowl. Now they hope this year and get them over the top.
All right, taking a look at the Rams offense now. Since McVay went there, we talked about Wade Phillips. The Rams offense has scored 31 points per game since McVay became the head coach. That's number one in the NFL over the 2-year span plus 2 games. So, obviously he is one of the best young coaches in the game. He's able to scheme things up, and you can see why he's very highly respected among everybody across the NFL. But through the first 2 games, Jared Goff total QBR is 31.0. That's 27th in the NFL. Do you think that Goff is going to be able to start to get things rolling. Hopefully not against the Browns, but they need to get things rolling with him. And I would think that him having a slow start to the season, at some point here, he's going to turn it on.
Yeah, and I think he showed it last week against New Orleans. Week 1, he definitely did struggle. He only completed around 59%. He was averaging less than 5 yards per attempt against a tough Carolina defense. He came back last week, averaged 10.1 yards per attempt. He completed 68% of his passes, and he didn't turn the ball over. He did take some sacks. He took 3 sacks last week compared to 1 against Carolina. So much like Baker, he might have had a problem getting the ball out quicker. But, I think Goff's going to turn the corner. Some people knock him, saying that he hasn't been worth the number 1 pick compared to perhaps Carson Wentz. But obviously he's been durable, and, he's been able – and this goes much credit to Sean McVay as well. He's been able to build around his strengths as a quarterback. And I think McVay's been able to hide the weaknesses in Goff's game. And that's why we've seen Goff make such a giant turnaround from his rookie season when, Jeff Fisher really didn't know what to do with him and his offensive coordinator, whereas Sean McVay has gotten the absolute best out of Goff. And I really think you might see the best of Jared Goff the rest of the season. Hopefully not against Cleveland, of course.
Yes. Hopefully not against us. But, you can get to him. They've allowed 4 sacks, like you mentioned, 12 quarterback hits. So they can get to him. And I think where the matchup to watch this week is going to be Olivier Vernon and Myles Garrett, whoever lines up against the right tackle, Rob Havenstein. So far this year, he's had 3 holding penalties. Last week against New Orleans, Cam Jordan drew 2 of those against him. So I think that's one spot to where you could say the Browns have a significant advantage, whether they decide to line up Olivier Vernon or Myles Garrett, or Chris Smith or whoever they wanted to line up against opposite of Havenstein at that defensive end position.
Yeah, definitely. Havenstein struggled the first couple weeks, going up against guys like Brian Burns in Carolina and Obata, and then last week going up against Cam Jordan and maybe even Marcus Davenport at some point. So, the Rams' offensive line struggled during Goff's rookie season. They went out and signed Andre Whitworth, and that kind of, enhanced their offensive line definitely. The only thing with Havenstein is Austin Blythe, their right guard, sprained his ankle, and he's questionable going into this week. Obviously, we'll see how he does through practice as the week goes on, as we get closer to Sunday. But if he doesn't have his right guard, Havenstein's going to be in a lot of trouble because he's going to have to adapt to a new guard who, doesn't know how he performs, and, Havenstein might have to pick up more. So, and then add in the fact that you might be facing Olivier Vernon one play and then turn around and face Myles Garrett another. So he's obviously going to be in a big trouble, and added the fact that their tight end, Tyler Higbee's hurt with a bruised lung. That could be somebody that, Havenstein depends on as well. So if he doesn't have a guy on his left or his right that he can depend on, it could spell trouble for the Rams offensive line, because they're obviously not at full strength already. But if Havenstein's having to worry about a different pass rusher each snap, then it could cause some chaos, not only for him, but for Jared Goff.
Do you think that this is the week we finally see Jannard Avery active?
I don't know. I mean, it's honestly tough to say, because even if he's active, who's to say they put him on the pass rush? They've been working him at Sam linebacker through camp, and it seems like they were trying to get something out of Chad Thomas. I don't know why they're wasting their time. It doesn't seem like you're going to get anything out of Chad Thomas except some, killer raps and beats and whatnot. But I'd love to see Avery out there. It helps keep Vernon and Garrett fresh, and you get something out of the pass rush, unlike Chad Thomas. But I don't think we'll ever truly know what's going on in that situation.
Yeah, hopefully they can rectify that soon and get him out there. Hopefully he can get out there this week. I think that they could really use him. But, coaches know more than we do. And when it comes to Gennard, hopefully it's just a matter of him. Maybe it's taking a little bit more time to learn what they're asking him to, and that's the only thing that's holding him back. Maybe, and I don't want to speculate too much. Maybe there's an injury that nobody knows about that they're holding him back, and they don't think he's 100%. So we don't know what it is. They do know. That's why he's been inactive, unfortunately, and they've gone with Chad Thomas over him the last couple of weeks. Hopefully soon we'll figure out what the heck is going on. All right, Jack, before we get on out of here, let's preview, or I don't want to preview the full game, but let's give our picks for the Thursday night football game between Tennessee and Jacksonville. Who do you got winning that game and why?
Thursday night football, I don't know if it was you that I talked about with last week, but it's just not good football. And yet the NFL keeps trying to put it out there, and I get it. Nothing's going on Thursday nights. You're going to get a good rating despite bad football. I seen the idea of having 2 Monday night football games, have a doubleheader. I think that would be a lot better. It helps the teams get more prepared. You probably get better football. You might not get great announcing, much like we had to put up with Monday night, but you get better football out of that, I believe. As far as this week goes, I would say Tennessee. I feel like they got a better defense. I feel like, they're going to want to bounce back after losing week 2. Jacksonville is clearly hungry for a win. They started out 0-2. There's chaos there with the Jalen Ramsey situation. And Gardner Minshew hasn't looked too bad in his 1.5 games as a NFL starting quarterback. But I think it's a close game, but I'll say Tennessee wins, and I'll say it'll be a close game. It'll probably come down to a field goal.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a close game too. Jacksonville was really close on Sunday to winning that game and coming back in that one. Gardner Minshew, everybody seems to love the guy. Hopefully, he can have some success down there in Jacksonville. It's a shame their plans with Nick Foles, went by the wayside very quickly when he got hurt early on in week 1. Hopefully Jacksonville can keep this game close, but I'm with you. I think Tennessee will win this game. Coming off that tough loss against Indianapolis last week, they're ready to bounce back, and I think that they're going to get the job done. One thing you brought up was maybe having 2 Monday Night Football games. I would much rather have that than having a Thursday night game. And if you're worried about the announcing, then have ESPN have one of the games, and then maybe like Fox or CBS or NBC, they can rotate Monday Night Football games. Just get these games off of Thursday night, and I would much rather have a doubleheader on Monday night.
Definitely. And, start it at like 6 o'clock, the first game.
No, 7 o'clock would be good.
7 and 10.
First game's over by around 10 o'clock, and the late game will be over around 1 a.m. Eastern. I think that people will stay up to watch that. Yeah.
I mean, I liked the week 1. I was able to, even though I was off and on sleeping that night, to see the end of the New Orleans Houston game, and it was over by like 10. That's good. I don't understand the sporting event, why they have to start these games at like 8 or 9 o'clock. 7 o'clock is a perfect time. West Coast is only 4. People are getting off of work. Like, I've never understood why they push stuff back to like 8, 9 o'clock for like primetime events.
Or what you could do is you could start the first game at like at 7, and you can start the second game at 9 o'clock. So that way there's a little overlap. But usually the first half, the first quarter or so of the game isn't that exciting anyway, and I think that they'd be able to get away with that. But it's all up to the networks and money, and that's something we'll probably never see. All right, Jack. As we get on out of here, go ahead and plug what you got, and we'll be back in a couple days to give you guys a full preview of the game on Sunday night.
As always, just follow me on Twitter at jmccurrycle.
As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Anthony Joki, Joki. Be sure to follow the podcast on Twitter and on Facebook, 1085 Gridiron. Subscribe to our podcast. We'd absolutely appreciate it. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. As we get on out of here, most importantly, go Browns.